Hello students. So today before we start our next point, first let's discuss some basic concepts which we need to understand this unit. I got some queries related to some topics, so let's clear those topics first and then we will move on our regular units and topics. So name redox is derived from reduction and oxidation. So reduction and oxidation, both of the processes are simultaneous process. If something is reduced, then there is something must be present which should be oxidized. And if something is oxidized, then there is something must be present which is reduced. So reduction and oxidation can't occur separately, but they will occur spontaneously, simultaneously. So in this case, as the definition mentioned for oxidation, first was oxidation, that means addition of oxygen, and example was mentioned magnesium with oxygen, it produces magnesium oxide. So we added oxygen into magnesium metal. So this is the definition of oxidation. So first definition was addition of oxygen. So when we add O2, it represents oxidation reaction. Second was removal of hydrogen, as mentioned in example of methane. When methane reacts with oxygen, it produces carbon dioxide gas and water. So this is combustion reaction of methane. We know that hydrocarbons are gases which we use, as for example in kitchen it is liquefied petroleum gas or LPG. It is a type of gas which is hydrocarbon butane. So this type of hydrocarbon, that means compound made from carbon and hydrogen, they give us exothermic reaction. That means they burn and they produces heat. So this is combustion reaction of methane. When methane burns, it reacts with oxygen and it produces carbon dioxide, water and high amount of heat. So when methane is burning, it combines with oxygen, as we can see here. So from carbon we removed hydrogen and then we attached oxygen. That means oxygen replaced hydrogen and then we got CO2. So in this case we did both. We removed hydrogen and we added oxygen. So second definition is removal of hydrogen. It is also considered as oxidation reaction. So here we have two different points, and both of them represent same thing, oxidation. If you add oxygen or if you remove hydrogen, both of them is oxidation. And next was when we add electronegative elements to the electropositive element. As for example, Mg plus F2. When magnesium reacts with fluorine, it produces MgF2. So in this reaction, we added fluorine to Mg. That means electronegative element is added in the reactant. So when electronegative element is added, it is also considered as oxidation reaction. So addition of electronegative element is also called oxidation reaction. And one more reaction is when we remove electropositive element. As for example, in case of K4 FeCN6. Now this is coordinate complex compound, or simply it is known as complex compound, and you will learn about these type of compounds in detail in next standard 12. We have a whole dedicated unit for this type of compound. So when K4 FeCN6 turns into K3 FeCN6, it releases 1K plus. Now we have 3K, before we had 4. So electronegative element is removed from the reactant. So this is also called oxidation. So fourth point is removal of electropositive elements. So we have 4 different oxidation definitions till now. We have one more coming in next topic, but let's discuss these 4 first. So as we can see in this case, addition of oxygen or addition of electronegative element, both of them are called oxidation. Similarly, removal of hydrogen or removal of electropositive element, both of them are also called oxidation. So you may ask or you may wonder what is electronegative and electropositive elements and how we can identify them. So for that in details were mentioned in the classification of periodic table unit. In that unit, whole concept of electronegativity, electropositivity was discussed in detail, but let's discuss it in short for this topic. But before we do that, let's talk about reduction. What is reduction? So reduction is exactly opposite reaction of oxidation. As the definition of oxidation says, addition of oxygen, it is oxidation, then opposite of it, that means removal of oxygen, is reduction. Second point, removal of hydrogen is oxidation, then addition of hydrogen will be reduction. Then addition of electronegative element. When we add electronegative element, it is oxidation, that means when we remove electronegative element, it is reduction. And last point, removal of electropositive element. When we remove electropositive element from the reactants, it is oxidation. So if you add it, it is reduction. That means exactly opposite of oxidation is considered as reduction. All of the reaction mentioned here can be assumed in reverse as reduction reaction. That means when MgO turns into Mg and O2, it is reduction. When carbon dioxide and water reacts with each other and if they produce methane, it is reduction. MgF2 to Mg and F2. It is reduction, and K3FeCN6 into K4FeCN6, it is also considered as reduction. Now let's talk about electropositivity and electronegativity. But for that we need to understand periodic table. So we already know that our periodic table has something like this type of design, and we can separate it in 4 different sections. Initial section, this section is known as S block element. Then we have a middle section which is D block elements, and then we have right hand side section which is known as P block element, and 2 separate lines at the bottom of periodic table is called F block elements. So we divided our periodic table in 4 parts: S, P, D and F blocks, and you will learn about all of these in different standards and different semesters, but all of these groups will be discussed. Now periodic table is called periodic table because it has periods, and periods, that means horizontal lines. So all the horizontal lines are known as periods in periodic table, and all the vertical lines are known as groups. So we have multiple different groups and multiple different periods in periodic table. Okay, so horizontal lines, that means periods, and vertical lines are called groups. So last group of the periodic table is known as group 18. That means this section of periodic table, this is called group 18, and it contains noble gases. Noble gases, that means they have very less reactivity. That's why they do not react with anything in normal conditions, and some of them do not react at all in even harsh conditions. That's why they are referred as noble gases or stable gases. So these gases do not react. Why they do not react? Because they have stable electronic configurations. So as you learned stable electronic configuration, we have 4 different type of orbitals: S, P, D and F. We know that S can occupy maximum up to 2 electrons, P can occupy up to 6, D 10 and F 14. These are the maximum number of electrons which can be added in given orbitals. And if they contain 2, 6, 10 and 14 electrons, they are called fully filled orbitals. And these orbitals are most stable when they are fully filled. So if they have this type of electronic configuration, it will be most stable electronic configuration. So most stable, stability, that means less energy, because stability and energy, they are inversely proportional. That means if stability increases, energy decreases, and if stability decreases, energy increases. So stable molecules or stable things have comparatively lower energies, and unstable things have higher amount of energy. So stable things loses energy, unstable things gains energy. So in this case, if electronic configurations are fully filled, then molecules or atoms gain stability. And everything in universe normally tries to gain stability by losing energy. So everything try to get stabilized. No matter what thing you have, they usually try to get stabilized. So atoms do the same thing. If atoms are unstable, then they will try to stabilize themselves. As for example, if we check the electronic configuration of one of the noble gas, neon, then neon is number 10, element number 10. So electronic configuration of neon is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6. So as we can see, its last orbital is fully filled and that's why it is stable. So all the elements normally try to get a noble gas like electronic configuration, and elements will try to get noble gas like electronic configuration which is closest to them. That means let's say we talk about the fluorine. Fluorine is number 9 and its electronic configuration is 1s2, 2s2, 2p5. So it is one electron short from neon like electronic configuration. So usually fluorine accepts electron, and by accepting electron it turns into F minus or fluoride ion. Charges on these elements are derived by the number of electrons and protons. It is element number 9, so that means it contains 9 proton, and its ground state electronic configuration, that means as mentioned in this case 1s2, 2s2, 2p5, it contains 9 electrons. So number of protons will be mentioned with plus sign, so we have 9 protons, that means plus 9, and number of electrons will be mentioned with minus signs, so 9 electron, that means minus 9. So plus 9 minus 9 is equal to 0. But in case of F minus, it accepts one more electron. So number of electrons in F minus, it will be 10. So now it contains 9 protons and 10 electrons, and that's why it has minus 1 charge. So we have to mention this charge on top of it. So when fluorine accepts electron, it turns into fluoride ion and it has 10 electrons. That means neon-like electronic configuration. So fluorine will try to get neon-like electronic configuration because it is comparatively closer to fluorine. If we compare other noble gas, in this case, then next nearby noble gas for fluorine is helium. But helium only contains 2 electrons. So to get helium-like electronic configuration, it needs to release total 7 electrons. So it is a very hard thing. So removal of 7 electron is extremely hard. That's why fluorine gains 1 electron to get neon-like electronic configuration. It is comparatively easy for fluorine. Now next element, sodium. Let's talk about the sodium, which is number 11. So electronic configuration of sodium is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s1. It contains total 11 electrons. So in this ground state electronic configuration, it contains 11 protons and 11 electrons. So that means 11 proton, that means plus 11, 11 electrons, that means minus 11, and that's why it is neutral with 0 charge. But it will try to get noble gas like electronic configuration. That means this will try to get neon like electronic configuration by losing electron from 3s1 orbit. So when it removes electron from 3s1, its electronic configuration is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6. It contains total 10 electrons. So now it still contains 11 proton, that means plus 11, but now it contains only 10 electrons. So minus 10 is equal to plus 1. So now sodium is sodium plus ion by losing 1 electron, because it can get noble gas like electronic configuration by just losing 1 electron. So that's how compounds decides whether to lose electron or to gain electron. That means for fluorine, If it wants to get noble gas like electronic configuration, then it has two closest noble gases, helium and neon. To get helium like electronic configuration, it need to release 7 electrons, and it is very hard thing. If it releases 7 electrons, then it can turn into F plus 7 ion, and it is very hard thing to do. Instead, it can accept only one electron and it can get noble gas like electronic configuration, that means neon like electronic configuration, by accepting just one electron. So fluorine usually decides to accept electron, that means it has strong affinity or attraction towards the electron. Similarly, if we check the sodium, then it can either lose one electron to get neon like configuration, or it can get 7 electron to get argon like electronic configuration. So obviously losing one electron is easy than accepting 7 electrons, and that's why sodium decides to lose electron and to get neon like electronic configuration, and it will produce Na plus ion. So that's why sodium is electropositive element, because it's easy to get noble gas like electronic configuration by losing electron. And fluorine is electronegative element, because for fluorine it is easy to get noble gas like electronic configuration by accepting one electron. So electronegativity and positivity depends on the position of elements and closest noble gas configuration. So this is electronegativity and electropositivity, and that's how we can find the charges, by calculating the number of electrons and protons in given element or ion. So we need to learn both of these things, because we have to calculate the charges and we have to understand electronegativity and electropositivity. Certain elements will be electropositive with certain other elements, and same element will be electronegative with others. As for example, we know that hydrogen is electropositive. That means when carbon and hydrogen both are attached, carbon is electronegative element and hydrogen is electropositive element. But same hydrogen when combines with sodium, then hydrogen will be electronegative and sodium is electropositive, because electropositivity of sodium is very high. So in most of the condition it will remain electropositive until you have stronger electropositive element than the sodium. In that case, sodium can also behave as electronegative element. So that's why last point we discussed in previous lecture was, when sodium and hydrogen combines, it produces NaH. In this case, we added hydrogen into the sodium. That means for sodium it should be reduction reaction, but instead it is oxidation reaction, because we added electronegative element. If you add electronegative element, then it is oxidation reaction. According to definition, we learn 4 different definitions, and 2 of them are going on in this case: addition of hydrogen and addition of electronegative element, and both are contradicting with each other. Addition of hydrogen, that means it is reduction, and addition of electronegative element, that means it is oxidation. So although we are adding hydrogen, still for sodium it is oxidation reaction. Why? We learn it in detail in next topic. So if you find any difficulty regarding to these basic concepts, these concepts are already discussed in previous units. So if you still find it difficult, then feel free to ask. We can discuss it in detail in upcoming lectures, so that you won't feel difficulties to understand our unit. So we will discuss our next point in next lecture, and if you still have any difficulties, feel free to ask. Thank you.